Wilminster, and we're meeting here at the Brouhaha Cafe in downtown Wilmington. And we're actually going to ask you a couple questions, some of which we've already touched on, but just about demographics and directions of business and sort of the roles of churches here in the area. And you were talking about some trends. So if you could talk about some of the young adult professional outreach that the city is doing.
Well, like a lot of cities across the country, they're looking to attract young urban professionals. Wilmington has a market within the banking, the legal, DuPont Corporation, others that are located here. All cities are trying to attract those individuals, and mostly it's towards the tech and the creative. The problem that Wilmington has had is it did not build the housing stock necessary, whether it be apartments or things, for those individuals to actually be located. So if you're going to create a 24/7 type of downtown area, you have to have some place for the after 5 when they come home to actually live. So there's a number of initiatives in process. Over the next 2 years, you'll see at least 400 new apartment units that'll be built. One right out the back part here, which will be 200 apartments with a 400-car parking garage and actually a swimming pool on the rooftop. So it'll really be sweet. And it has a great view just of the Grand Opera House, which is located right here on Market Street. And at nighttime, it's really pretty something special to see. It's all lit up. And we actually worked with them to create a lighting unit for that building. So there's a lot moving forward. Does Wilmington really know what it exactly is going to be? No. And that's what's really good, is because there's opportunity to really influence and make change in what this city can be. Next question.
Well, that was really good. Tom, I also want to get you in on this. You had some great questions in terms of economic trends and how the church could be helpful in the community.
Yeah, I think the way we're thinking about this, Will, is that some of the churches in the larger area have provided the seed money for Edwin to begin a church, and or worshiping community, and so he can go pretty much anywhere in this general area. And so we're trying to figure out where the needs are the greatest, as well as where the opportunities are. And as you think about not just downtown Wilmington, though we know that's your area of expertise, are there any social patterns or sort of cultural trends? Are there, what are the big issues in Wilmington these days from a social or cultural standpoint?
Well, I mean, Wilmington definitely has a very diverse and very active arts and creative, culture here. And there's a lot of initiative going that direction. I think, you're probably right, and you would know that far better than I, is are these young people attracted to the traditional church? And I would say no. I think a good example of a kind of alternative has been like the Loma Coffee, which is down on Lower Market Street, and that was an initiative run out of the Hockessin Baptist Church. And I think it turned out to be far more successful than they ever even anticipated, because now it's a really, really thriving business. So do they then have to focus more on business, and can they take the time with the church? But I think those type of things, that you have to be the church on their time, not set up Sunday service at 10 o'clock that everybody has to go to. I really don't know the full answer, but Wilmington definitely has a large African American population that is very saturated, I believe, with churches. And then, of course, you got the Catholic diocese here, and you've got all the other traditional. But like you're saying, people aren't necessarily going to those brick and mortar type of churches. So I don't necessarily know your world, but I know the world of what we are really going forward and trying to attract, and that is, to be a sustainable, long-term, very thriving city, you have to have the next generation. Right. And my generation is not the ones you're trying to attract, our money, but Um,
Edwin would love to have you stop by. That's never a problem.
but
His
it's
contact information.
That's true. I've got it. I got his card.
yeah, but it's for the future generations and how you can get them involved in being a part of the community, which is everybody's trying to get them involved in being a part of the community. And they are, absolutely. The biggest point with them is you need to show them how they can be a part of making a change based off an idea they brought forward. And that's really where I work very well with that community, because it's like they don't have the ability to get into the doors that it's taken us years to do. And with that in mind is that I love for them to come up with great ideas that they just need a door open, or they need some initial seed kind of funding or things of that nature to get their idea moving that does have a real community benefit. And I think that is really the key. They want to know that they're being heard and know that they're being taken seriously. And if so, they'll put in so much pro bono time, it's amazing. I mean, they will really jump on something, and they can be that energy that really pulling together things where for like my generation, I just need to get them that appointment. And with that, then they can truly have success. That makes them want to stay here. That makes them want to be a part. Other cities have done a far, far better job in advance of what Wilmington would like to do. So Wilmington is really a little late getting into the game, but the idea is that's an empty canvas, which you're going to paint a great picture. So we're on that direction.
And you also can learn from what other cities
Absolutely
have done.
and what mistakes they've made.
One other question. Your area of expertise is, as I understand it, is the downtown Wilmington area, and you've said that over the next 5 years there's going to be X number of new housing units, and that's the vision is to really revitalize the downtown area. So it sounds like there's opportunities there. Is there another segment of the Wilmington beyond downtown that you're aware of that is just growing like crazy, or that is just filled with energy, or it's a dynamic economic climate?
Well, I would say that no to all of the above. There's nothing that is incredibly successful in the city limits of Wilmington. There are areas that are, always been very good. Trolley Square area is absolutely, that seems to be where a lot of the young people go, because there's one bar on top of another, and there's different, that's the atmosphere they really like. The Little Italy area, there's a whole project there called West Side Grows that they really want to really revitalize that whole area, because Little Italy used to be a mainstay where we went for Little Italy. And it kind of fell off a little bit, but there's 15,000 people that live in that area, which is a large percentage of the city's population. That also covers a wide swath of the Latin American community as well. So, those are kind of two areas that, one is traditional, it doesn't really need much more than management and sustainability. Another area that has a very big initiative to revitalize, but is going to take an incredible amount of money and an incredible amount of time. The Creative District, which is about to be formed just to your right, where we're sitting right now. And then there's what's called East Side Rising, which is just to the left of us on the other side of all the government buildings. There's little pockets throughout the city that are, have great potential, but there needs to be some really comprehensive and incremental strategy that goes along with that. The city just did partner with the county on a comprehensive plan that should be released in about a month. And that'll go over kind of key implementation things that should be done moving towards that direction that we're all looking for.
So you joked earlier that if you're going through Wilmington, you trip over a church. So there's a large concentration, high concentration of churches in Wilmington. Do you see areas like Trolley Square or Little Italy or even Lower Market, or would you throw those in that same category? Do they have a high concentration of churches as well, or do you see some opportunities there?
Good question. Yeah, Trolley Square is mostly residential, except for right in the heart of Trolley Square where there are a number of restaurants and nightclubs. A grocery store, the Acme, is there. There are churches dotted around it, nothing in the heart of. And, Loma, there is no church down in Loma other than the Loma Coffee, enterprise. They're looking for, a really standalone kind of facility as well. And then there's been a number of others who've come to me and would like to use a space on, a regular basis. Downtown, there's several, whether it be, First and Central, which has been there for forever, I guess. Trinity, Grace, United, and then out into the communities, especially in the African American communities, towards Southbridge, the east, and along Route 9 going towards Newcastle. There's a number of kind of new progressive type of churches. So is there opportunity in areas? I would say probably there is. But there's already established. One is like St. John's on Concord Avenue, which was a fantastic, beautiful Catholic church that is now closed. So maintaining those larger kind of facilities is pretty much next to impossible these days. That one, unfortunately, may end up being demolished. Just because it's almost impossible to rehab a 100-year-old type of church of that nature. So there's opportunity, not necessarily knowing the church market. It's not one I get calls on a regular basis. Your coffee shop idea, absolutely. So not something I really looked into, but I think it's something that really should be. And, put that on a map and see where things are and see where, possibilities for growth are or underserved kind of populations. But I don't know that Wilmington is underserved other than, in the traditional form of, faith-based.
Yeah. Do you find the churches or it could be subjective, but maybe on a bigger picture scale, do you see what role do you see the churches playing in the Wilmington community besides the usual Sunday? Are they involved in some of the business goals of downtown? Are they involved with the mayor and the police? Are they how involved are they with just sort of day-to-day Wilmington?
On the community side and giving back to the community and help organizing a lot of issues with the city, yeah, they absolutely are. I'm sure you've read in the national press and so forth about the violence in the city, which is pretty well overstated. It's definitely in the downtown because there's virtually none. But they definitely are involved in that and trying to figure out how to resolve that issue. And I think that's one where the faith base comes in because, those people who are committing crimes needed to be touched early on, as children and moving forward. And that's a very big thing because the city cannot arrest its way out of any problem. And it comes to the home, it comes to the faith-based, it comes to, even I would think more towards the traditional type of church and getting a real schedule. So they're actively involved in those areas. As far as in economic development, not so much, though there has been kind of enterprises of working that direction, but not a lot. There definitely have been with especially the Catholic diocese and whether it be the Friendship House, whether it be the Ministry of Caring on, Sacred Village, which is a retirement, kind of community. There's been definitely living initiatives, but probably not as much as there really could be. We have interfaith housing, we have Habitat for Humanity. They're doing very, very, very good work in that area. But I think really touching people, and especially the youth, is I think a challenge. And again, it's not understanding your complete world in that. I think that's definitely a place where the mayor comes from a very religious background himself and is very connected to his church, and really needs a lot more support in that area. but not more of asking what the city can do for you, but more of what you can do for the city. And the faith-based organizations have stepped up, but there's a lot more that they do need to do.
If you were could wave a magic wand and say, all right, Edwin, for the next 5 years, this is where I'm going to place you in Wilmington, and this is what I'd love to see you do. What would you, how would you wave that wand, and what would you have him do?
Well, again, this has to do with religion, which
Well,
is not necessarily my forte, but
forget the religious part of it. If you have a human being with diverse skills like Edwin, an interesting background, and he's available to serve Wilmington and the people of Wilmington and be an advocate, be a minister, be a mentor, be a coach, be a caregiver, whatever it is. And I think Edwin can be all those and has been all those in his role in other places. How could he best serve Wilmington?
well, I think when part of it is there's always there's a lot of fragmentation in Wilmington, and connecting the dots is very important. That's a hard thing to do for somebody coming in from the outside, though, because there's a lot of getting to know who is here and who are the influencers or those that are empowered. That's one big thing, is just definitely connecting the dots. Another really big thing, because a lot of Wilmington's problems stem from the unemployment. There's a real challenge because 85% of the people who live in the city work outside of the city. And the transportation, is terrible. Mass transit is really bad for people who are going towards, we'll say lower skill, lower per hour wage job. And, as we've seen, manufacturing and so forth is not very big anymore. The reverse is that 85% of the people who work in the city live outside of the city. So you have people who are highly skilled professionals, lawyers, bankers, all the above, who live outside the city and are driving in. So we're trying to make residential units for those kind of professionals. One, because that's revenue for the city. The city, to be able to do a lot of the social programs that it would love to do, needs money. It has to have revenue to do it. And 80% of the city's revenue is generated within the downtown and the riverfront. And there's opportunity for growth there. So, we've really pushed on that whole thing because we don't need the money. Downtown generates the revenue. It doesn't need it. We're okay. We can build on our own. That money could go into the communities, which there are definitely dire problems. And the unemployment rate is, 20-some%. And there are areas
20%.
of the well over in certain areas, and in some areas of the city, the dropout rate is 100%.
Oh my gosh.
So there's things where we need to take these youth, we need to get them into meaningful jobs that really replace what the street culture is. And the mayor, 1,000% would like to really do that. And there's a lot of help that is needed on that. The federal delegation, the senators, congressmen definitely have seen that that's an issue. The governor's seen that that's an issue. But really getting that kind of movement, and getting people, we'll say, educated or trained, before they come out of high school, so that they can work into a job. But, we've all looked at the previous, models of being manufacturing, and that just is not it anymore. It's middle-level jobs that actually corporations would rather have somebody right out of high school that didn't go to college, because they can train them to do that specific job and move on. But one, if they can't get to the job because the job's outside the city, well, they're not going to have a job. If the jobs aren't being created in the city, then they don't have a job. So that is really workforce. I'm on every committee that there is. I'm on the Workforce Development Committee as well as the Homeless Alliance, and you name it. And not on the Fly Committee. But that's
Chair of the Fly Committee.
Yeah, right. That's definitely an area that really has a lot of challenges, and somebody who has, we'll say, really good organizational communication skills as a business background to really put it into a business model, that definitely is wide open.
So a last question for me. Can you name, and this I acknowledge this is outside of your expertise, but can you name, if someone asks you, where's the young adult church, where's the Hispanic church, and where's the artists church, where those three groups kind of are the dominant culture at that particular church, where would those be? And or do they exist?
Well, in the Latin, I just don't know the name, but there is definitely, through the Latin American Community Center, there's a lot going on right there. So they would be the people to talk to in that regards. And I forget her name. Of course, it slipped me at the moment. But she's a real powerhouse in Wilmington on the whole Latin American Community Center. They've done a phenomenal job in what they've done. But they're always challenged, monetarily, to do those things. For the young creative, I don't think there is. I think those that are attracted or grew up in a background that they felt moving forward they would continue to go to church. I think they're scattered throughout a number of different ones, but there's not like one church. I mean, Trinity has really tried. Grace has really tried. First and Central has tried very well. I think they're all challenged, in trying to really draw that audience. So I really couldn't name by name one that is a hub. I don't think there is. Latin American, I think there probably is. And in the African American, there are so many. But there's some really big ones that, have done very well. So
I just have one last question. And you'll probably love this question as a development guy, but what is the single most dynamic, exciting thing happening in Wilmington right now?
Pretty much what we're doing,
I knew you were going to say that, Will. I put that one right across the plate for you, didn't I?
I mean, seriously.
So you're excited about downtown and the things that are happening.
Yeah, I mean, we have actually some really good people, and I don't know if you know my background, but I'm a bench jeweler. I owned a jewelry store in Wilmington for 25 years. My family has a 118-year-old jewelry business that my 84-year-old mother runs, and she's president of the Main Street organization in Newark. So there's people who really understand what is needed and how to move things forward and are truly committed to doing it. And I don't mean just myself, because there's a number of, we'll say, not clones to me, but people who are right on that same page, who really, that's the one good thing. There is a lot of young people, old people that truly believe in this city. Anywhere from, I'm a member of Wilmington Rotary, and our strategic committee is, how can we make Wilmington better? We're really taking that challenge on. So there's so many people who really want it to happen, are willing to put money into making it happen, are willing to really put day and time into making it happen. So from all regards, it will happen. And that's really the good thing. I mean, yes, we're leading kind of the charge in many different areas, but so are others.
Right.
We're not the only ones. I mean, and a lot of it is coming from even faith-based, that are really looking at different things to do.
That's great.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Greatly
Absolutely.
appreciated.
Yeah,
Getting
appreciate
back
that.
your mic there.
Will, thank you.
Will Minster
Well,
with
that was your,
Downtown Economic Development.
Your name.